Standard Rugby Podcast with Lawrence Dallaglio.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Evening Standard Rugby Podcast. I'm Lawrence Dallaglio. Joining me, as always, after a wonderful weekend of Premiership rugby action and Women's Six Nations rugby action is Steve Gording from the Evening Standard. Steve, how are you, sir?
Lawrence, I'm very well. Happy Easter to you, or as we are recording on Monday, I guess it's happy April Fool's Day, is it? Were you a victim today or not? Did you manage to get away with it?
I think I got away with it. Happy Easter to you too. I'm assuming you're in your Easter egg hunting gear that you're wearing today. It's been a cracking weekend of Premiership rugby. Some amazing bounce-back performances from all the sides. I'm not quite sure what these guys are drinking at the moment, but I think the standard of rugby since the end of the Six Nations has really picked up where the international tournament finished, really. Maybe because there's this jeopardy. We've now got 8 teams in the Premiership out of 10 that have got a realistic chance, with Sales brilliant win, 41-5 against Exeter, of actually finishing in that top 4. So, no team has managed back-to-back wins, apart from Bristol, who weren't even in the conversation and have picked up 2 5-pointers, and suddenly from nowhere they're right in the thick of it. So,
Are they the team to fear? I just had a look at their fixtures earlier on at who they've got left, and they've got Newcastle at home, Leicester away, Saracens at home, and Quins away to finish. And the form that they're in at the moment, I mean, you look at that win that they had over Northampton, and everybody went, well, it's probably because Northampton not quite right for Six Nations, not maybe ready. Their defence let them down. But are we not giving Bristol enough credit for what they've done? Let's face it, Pat Lam was under such pressure earlier in the season, and now they're making a late race for the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, this is a team that have been up the top of the table before under Pat Lam. They've won the Challenge Cup. They've got some high-profile players, and when they are at their best, they're a force to be reckoned with. And maybe they just slipped under the radar, but with 2 back-to-back 5-point wins, they won't be slipping under the radar. But as you said, with Newcastle now, their next Prem game, they've got every chance of closing the gap. But all you have to be able to do at the moment as a team is focus on yourself. You can't be looking at what other teams are doing. If you put a series of games together, then you've got a chance of winning. Sale, for instance, they were on. If they'd have lost yesterday, I think they'd have been out the picture. They've won with 5 points, probably their best attacking performance of the season so far. They absolutely dominated Exeter, and suddenly they're 1 win away from getting to Quins, who are in the top 4. So listen, it's going to go to the wire. It's going to be very exciting. It could come down to bonus points, which is why Bath picking up 2 bonus points at the weekend against Quins. I think Saracens picking up that crucial one against Northampton. It could come down to bonus points. So
bonus points really make a difference, don't they? I mean, they keep teams playing right until the end of a game because there's always something riding on it. They're such a positive thing, aren't they? Did you have bonus points when you played or not?
Yeah, we did. Not at the very beginning of the Premiership, but they came in. And as you say, if you look at it, because it's so competitive now, teams are able to, particularly when they're playing at home, that they're picking up wins. And if you can't pick up a win, what you have to do is pick something up. I mean, look at that Bath Harlequins game. I mean, they were 40 points to 3 down after 50 minutes, Bath. Now, before bonus points were introduced, they may have thrown the towel in and it could have got a whole lot worse. Suddenly, once they picked up 2 quick tries, they were suddenly in with a chance of getting the bonus point try, which they did. Rory McConaughey crossed, and then Elliot Stoop got the losing bonus point. So for them, the aggregate amount of points that they've picked up in 2 weeks is 7, and Quins have got 5 in 2 weeks. So, yes, they do make a difference, because if you're doing that every 2 weeks, you pick up an extra win, which could be the difference between being in the top 4 or not.
Yeah, so if you had to pick a top 4 now, who would it be?
Well, it's a bit naughty, isn't it, really, to throw that on me? But the point is that the picture is changing every week. We have actually selected our top 4 as pundits on TNT. I picked Northampton, Saracens, Bath and Exeter. And we're delighted to be joined now by Marlie Packer, live from the England team hotel, or maybe home. I'm not sure.
I'm actually at home, so we've been given Sunday, Monday off, so it's actually been really refreshing to actually have some time at home.
Have you been Easter egg hunting, I would hope?
Yes, I have been Easter egg hunting with Oliver.
Talking of eggs, England Red Roses did pretty good with the egg at the weekend. Another, was it 8 tries, I think, wasn't it, against Wales? Was it a sellout at Ashton Gate? I think it was, wasn't it? It was pretty close to sold out anyway.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I think it was around the 19,000 mark, which was pretty epic. The atmosphere was just absolutely incredible. The biggest crowd out of London for Red Roses game, so we get really good numbers usually down at Exeter, but Ashton Gate was really good for us.
Highest crowd actually at a rugby game this weekend, higher than all the men's fixtures.
Oh wow, that's epic. That is, to be fair. But you could really hear the crowd. The whole atmosphere is just amazing at the moment, and the fans staying afterwards to try and say hello to you. And there's just so many of them these days. It's gone are the days where you could go and interact with the crowd and do that and sign. You just have to say thank you and keep on going, or you'll be out there for hours.
And Marlie, it was another emphatic win, obviously, against a much improved Wales team, I'm sure. But John Mitchell, your coach, obviously he's very excited at the moment about the potential. He was talking about, well, he rang the changes, didn't he? And he's trying to give everyone a bit of an opportunity to lay down a marker, ahead of that World Cup, home World Cup. But he talks about you having sort of 3 different teams and 3 different ways of playing. So it's definitely a tournament about sort of evolving into, and improving all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the way we're looking at it as players. We were very set piece focused, and we were very dominant in that. It's not something we've come away from, but also we want to give license for our backs to play and not just have a set piece game, but also a real attacking game, but also being able to kick when we need to. From actually watching the game back, I think probably we overplayed in a couple of areas at the weekend, but I think that's learnings for us going forwards. We got, like you said, 8 tries against a good Wales team now. They've been full-time contracted for 2 years, so now they're actually seeing the rewards of not just the playing, but also like the fitness side of being full-time professionals, that team cohesion, that being able to train together on a regular basis. I think their setup is still very different to the Red Roses, but you can really still see those improvements in how they came out to play against us.
How much of a boost did it give the girls to have Jamie George come into camp? And do you think this idea of cross-pollination between the men's and the women's teams could actually help? I mean, is there things that the men can learn from you and vice versa?
I think definitely more for us. It's like how the men do things. It's just those little like 1%ers. How it's just a different voice can change. They can be saying exactly the same as your throwing coach, but because it's come from Jamie George in a different way, actually lands better. And the girls really enjoyed it when they were in. He did some fun games, but then also some accuracy throwing. I can't say too much because I know nothing about line-out throwing, but I know they really came off of it and enjoyed it. And I think it's just, us as the Red Roses, we always follow the men, and for them to come in and want to spend time with us. Like, it was Jamie's off day, it was an early morning session, and he was there. And I think, if we can link up when is appropriate for them and for us, it could be really good and work both ways around. I think the way we do things is different to the men, but actually they could learn a thing from us and we could definitely learn a thing from them.
So now in association with our partners QBE Business Insurance, we're going to look at how we grow the game with Marlie. Marlie, what's the single thing that you would like to see happen that would elevate the women's game even further than where it is now?
I think for me, to keep elevating the game and to put it in the best possible place, is that professionalism in the PWR league. If we cannot make it some professionals and other players that are having to work alongside, if we can make it that even if it was a part-time, so 2-3 days a week in doing rugby, the other 2 days a week having to go to work or find other sources of income, that would be massive for the women's game across the board. And I think the teams that struggle in the league are the ones that don't have the international players that have got full-time contracts, and then that will balance that out. But then for me also, it's about grassroots rugby. The championship sides, they're the ones that feed the PWR teams to be able to have enough numbers to train week in, week out, to then put aside in at the weekend. And then the players that don't make that match day 23 or your travelling reserves, they actually go back for those championship games. And how can we grow the championship to have more of a link between the PWR and the champ, and the skills that we get, the resources we get in the PWR, they get it also.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's never been a better time really to get involved in women's rugby. I think it feels like there's a huge excitement. We're talking every time we talk, Marlie, about something new that's happening in the game. Biggest crowd outside of Twickenham at Ashton Gate. So, you guys are certainly doing your bit.
Do you think that there's enough done by the men as advocates for the women's game, or would you like to see more from them? I mean, obviously we've got the likes of Ugo Monye, who is a big fan of the women's game, but do you think enough comes from within the England men's setup to actually support you?
I think what we want is the Red Roses is players to champ us, but do it because they want to do it, not because they feel they have to, or there's an image that they have to post on social media or support us in a way that they feel is appropriate to what the outside world see. It's the fact of Jamie coming in means so much to us. The way Ugo spoke about us last week after his punditry, it speaks volumes, and I think people then will listen, which then will make them tune in and actually see it for themselves, and that's what it's about for us. It's not about forcing that relationship. It's about it being organic and growing. I think like Lawrence just said, women's rugby is massively on the rise. The Red Roses are taking massive strides forward. The biggest crowd in a weekend for rugby was women's rugby this weekend, and I think that's credit to the product we put on the pitch, but also the RFU, like the sponsors that get us out there, because you've got to be able to see it to do it.
As Nick said, some fantastic games. Obviously, 8 quality matches. The extra round of jeopardy, I think, really does add something to this competition. And I suppose from a Gallagher Premiership perspective, to have 6 clubs very much in the hunt, in these games is pretty tasty indeed. There's obviously the All English affair down at Sandy Park, Exeter against Bath. I think the 2 rounds we've had of Premiership games, I'm not quite sure what's happened after the Six Nations, but they've been absolutely bonkers. I think there's a real zip and an energy about every single team at the minute. Yes, some teams have won, some teams have lost, but the quality of rugby and the intensity of rugby at times has been right up there with Test matches. So I'm excited going into this round of 16. I'm particularly excited about one game, which is Bordeaux against Saracens, because Mark McCall, who's obviously been at Saracens for an eternity, I think he has a 75% win ratio there. He talked about the defeat at Bordeaux earlier on in the season by 50 points as being a watershed moment for Saracens, and a moment of reflection where they really looked at themselves deep and hard and came up with some honest conversations. And obviously their performance against Harlequins was as a direct result of that. Yes, they lost to Northampton, but you could argue that the quality of Northampton's performance was right up there as well. I don't think Saracens were necessarily too much at fault for that. They just got hit with a fast start, and they still managed to score 4 tries and a bonus point. So that game in particular will tell us a lot about Saracens' mindset. Can they go back to Bordeaux, a place where they lost by 50 points, and it's never going to be easy. I think only one team managed to win there this season, one French team. So can they go there and eke out a result with the squad that they have and stay alive in this competition? And I'm dead excited about that game.
And Bordeaux rested Jalibert and Penaud at the weekend, didn't they? So they'll be fit and flying and raring to go. I get it. Does it depend which Saracens turn up? The ones that beat Quins or the one that played at Northampton?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, listen, if the team that played at the Tottenham Stadium, I mean, that was probably one of the best club performances I've seen for quite some time. And to be able to come out at that level again the following week is not easy. So, look, they've rested a few players. I think Itoje will be back in the team, that they'll be at full strength. And it's just a great opportunity to see how two great clubs go up against each other. And the other match that I've sort of picked out is Northampton Saints against Munster. Munster, they're a phenomenal European Cup team. You know, they're like chewing gum. You just can't get rid of them once they're stuck on you. You know, they seem to hang in there. They hang in games that they've got no right to hang in. You know, and
that's an awful analogy. Stuck with chewing gum. But how many times have you trodden in chewing gum, or you used to have it under your desk, didn't you, when you were at school? Well, I know what you mean.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I mean, listen, it's a compliment. They hang in games where you know, you think you've got them well beaten, and then somehow they come up with something. You know, there's something magical about their fans and about them in this competition. But Northampton are top of the table, high flying, and I thought they produced a magnificent performance. And other than their win, captained by Pat Lam many years ago, this is a competition where they clearly have underperformed because they haven't necessarily had the squad to compete on two fronts. But this season, with Courtney Laws in the sort of form he's in, they've been imperious in this competition. They've already been over, didn't they, to Munster and won. So it's going to be a fascinating tussle.
Yeah,
that one.
and Nick, we've mentioned Exeter against Bath already, the only, obviously, all Premiership match. Exeter and Bath actually playing each other now two games in a row, aren't they? Because they've got this game and then they've got the Prem game as well to follow. Which way do you see this going? Exeter got a bit of a humbling on Sunday against Sale. Bath obviously came flying back against Harlequins on Saturday, but didn't quite have enough. Tight game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, home advantage is hard to look past in terms of, you know, Bath will be desperate to knock them over and keep on rolling in this competition as they start to try to realise the potential, the rich potential they've got and all the quality players they've got in their squad. While Exeter is a new group and a young group and inexperienced, you half think that might count against them, but equally they could just go out and play with no fear. And there'll definitely be a reaction to the defeat and its manner from the Sale game. And so you'll see an Exeter team that just fly into the whole thing. And the big challenge for Bath is if they're going to stand up and be the team that everybody wants them to be and that they want to be, and certainly their supporters want them to be, then they have to go and win games like this, because really there's an argument that says, well, I mean, the first half at Quins, that kind of thing shouldn't really happen, should it? And it does happen to teams, but it's about how you respond. Clearly they responded in the match, but they didn't win the game. And if you're thinking about titles and if you're thinking about the kind of investment that Bruce Craig has put into Bath over the years, albeit he would probably admit, and the club would probably admit, they've got quite a lot of things along the way. Now they're sort of settling down. You know, they're building the right kinds of foundations, but at some point you have to go and plant the flag, don't you, really? And this is the kind of game where they can go and do that. So I think they'll be pretty dangerous, but I think it'd be very, very tight. It's almost too tight to call this one, to be quite honest, because there's compelling reasons why you could argue for both sides are going to go out and win this game. So I think it'll be the kind of game that it could turn on, you know, the penultimate play or something like that, or hopefully not, but perhaps a mistake.
Yeah, give us a winner then in the two games that you've picked out. That one you've just mentioned, Exeter Bath. Who do you think will win that one?
Yeah, I think Exeter. Just a feeling. I can't back that up completely. Just a feeling, yeah. And I think Quins will win. Yeah,
and Lawrence, do you see two Prem winners from the games you've picked out, Saracens and at Bordeaux and Northampton against Munster?
Do you know what? I see Northampton winning. I just think, you know, if they play the way that they have been playing, and their set piece seems to be holding up quite well, I do see them winning. Yeah. And with regard to Saracens, that's a very interesting one to call. My heart wants to go with Saracens because I just think that with Owen Farrell's last season there, certainly for the next few years anyway. When he's at the top of his game in terms of the mindset, I think everyone follows. And whatever he said to the team before they came out at Tottenham was on a different level. If they can reach that level, then I can't see anyone beating them really. So do you know what? I'm going to put my neck out and say yes, and it's going to be quite a long neck because I think Bordeaux have only been beaten once at home this season. So let's hope they've got the minerals, Saracens, to come back with a win. Listen, my great thanks to you both, to Steve, to Nick, and also to our England captain Marlie, who'll be joining us again next week to look ahead to round 3 of the Women's Six Nations, where England are absolutely flying. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and please download us, give us a 5-star review, and we look forward to hearing from you next week.